guys, good morning. It's Poppy here, and we are gonna change the oil today. We're gonna have some fun out in Poppy's shop. Come on, let's go. Hey gang, good morning. It's Poppy, and we are hanging out in the shop today. We're not going to do a hike, but we are hanging out in the shop today, and we're going to change the oil in Poppy's Jeep. Let's see, there we go. Easy process. Don't let it intimidate you. A couple things you need to know. Number one, the old oil that you bring out of the car that we take out, it's going to be dark and ugly and things like that. We have to dispose of it properly, which means take it to a auto supply store, whether it be Advance Auto or O'Reilly or AutoZone. You can even take it to Walmart. So we're going to put it back in the container. After we put the new oil in, we're going to put the old oil into the container and take it back to them so it can be disposed of properly. Okay, let's talk real quick about the things you're going to need to do the oil change. It's only a couple of things. They are. First of all, you're going to need your oil filter that is going to be specific to your car. So if you go in to the auto parts store, just tell them what kind of car you have and what size engine, and you can get all of that right off of your owner's manual, and they'll give you an oil filter. They'll also tell you what type of oil your car takes. It's called the viscosity, and I just happen to use synthetic for these types of oil changes. Also high mileage. You're going to need a wrench to get the old oil filter off, and wrenches come in different styles. That's an oil filter wrench. Some of them also look like this, and with this one you use a 3/8 inch driver to take it off. Now I always put this stuff out just to make sure that it's all going to fit together. So I make sure that my oil filter, because the one coming off is going to be this same size, that it works into this oil filter wrench, because you'll see this one is smaller. That's not going to fit. So they come in lots of different sizes depending on what the need is or what the application is. You're also going to need a wrench to get your oil pan drain bolt out, or you could use some sockets. And we'll get under the car and we'll see what it looks like. So we talked about catching the old oil, and there's two different methods, or a few different methods to do it. This is an oil pan, portable oil pan. It's just made out of plastic, and it's a couple of bucks at the store. This one is a little bit more advanced, and this is a drain catcher. So all the oil goes through the top, and then I pump it out. I plug it in, and I pump it out through that hose, and it goes back into my oil jug. So that's a little bit more advanced. You don't need anything like that. You just need a simple drain pan. Looks like that. So the first thing we're going to want to do, I pulled the Jeep into the garage. It has not been running very long. The oil's not heated up, and that'll make it a little bit safer reaching underneath the engine. But I do want to make sure that I put on the emergency brake just for safety. All right, I'm going to go ahead and lift up the hood with the Jeep. We use these unlocking mechanisms, one on each side. Pull that out. Lift up the center and release the latch. Once the hood's up, you find the hood locking rod right there, and I'm going to lift that up, and it goes into this slot right here in the center. Okay, now that my hood's up, if you've got any questions at all, you can always ask the person at an Advance Auto or an AutoZone. But you'll see, this is where we're going to check the oil, and it's clearly marked and labeled engine oil. Perfect. Over on the other side is where we're going to put the new oil in when the time comes. and that's also clearly marked. Now this one actually tells me what the viscosity of the oil is, and that's that code that says SAE 5W20. On the top of this particular engine, it also tells me the size of the engine. So when I went into the store, I asked them for my oil filter and my oil. They knew exactly what I was looking for. And if I didn't know what I needed, they'd be real helpful and look it up for me. All right, gang, I am underneath the Jeep. I actually came in, so that's the front of the Jeep. I actually came in from the side because it's a little easier for me to reach. This is my oil pan drain plug, and it also gives me an opportunity. One of the reasons I like working on my own vehicles and changing the fluid is it gives me an opportunity to take a look at what's going on, make sure everything looks good from underneath. So this is the socket that I'm going to need. I'm going to kind of test it first. Yep, it fits just fine. So that's good. And I'm going to attach it to my 3/8" socket driver. We're going to put that on. Put it into off mode. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Give it a little pull. There you go. That's going to come right off. I'm just going to let that fall right out into my catch pan. My catch pan is underneath. I'm just going to let that fall right out into my catch pan, and there comes the old oil. It's just going to go right into my catch pan. So I'm just going to let that drain out. All right. Well, while that continues to drain, I'm going to go around to the front where the filter is, and if I look, and remember I'm under the passenger side behind the passenger wheel. If I look a little bit to the right and up, right here, this is my oil filter. So I'm going to go around to the front where I can grab a hold of that, see if it'll come off without the wrench. If possible, I might need the wrench though. So let's go see if that'll come off. Okay, so here's my oil filter, and I use this wrench, and I use two hands, and I just put it on there a little bit and spun it off a little just to loosen it up. And now I can take it off the rest of the way, just spinning it. Okay, so I spun it off. I'm bringing it up. It's got some oil in it, so we want to be careful. Okay, the other thing that you need while you're doing this is paper towels, because you're going to get some oil on you. No problem. Okay, so now I'm ready to put my new oil filter on. It came out of the box. This is what it looks like. It's got a small rubber gasket on the top of it here. And we're going to want to put some brand new oil on top of that rubber gasket. So I'll open up the new oil and dip my finger in. Okay, so the new oil's open. I'm just going to get a little bit of my finger, and we're just going to rub it around the gasket a little bit so that it spins on there easily. Now when I put that on, when I spin it on, you'll notice I'm not going to use that oil filter wrench for that. I'm just going to put it on hand tight. And the manufacturer, they used to say, give some instructions on this. But it used to be that when you spun it on, as soon as it touched the engine, you would go about another quarter of a turn. Okay, about 25% away around. And that's as much as you wanted to do it. Don't use a filter wrench on it. Okay, so as we look in from the top, you can see that bright silver circle. That's where it's going to go. that is where my oil filter goes. You can see it's dripping a little bit of oil. That's no problem at all. I'm just going to reach down in there and spin it on. And I can feel when it touches, and you'll feel it too, right when it touches the engine. There you go. So it touched, and I'm just going to, with my hands, just going to spin it 1/4 of a turn, little baby turns. There you go. It's hand tight. It's on there. It looks good. All right, gang, Poppy is all done cleaning up the bottom of the Jeep where the oil spilled on the suspension. This is the drain plug. This is when it goes in, and I'm just going to kind of check it out. I cleaned it off. I'm just going to check it out to make sure that there's no gouges in it, there's no dings, and that this little rubber gasket is in good shape. And it really looks to be in real good shape. So we're set. So I'm ready to go underneath. All of my oil is done dripping. And we have to put the plug back in. All right, guys, this is a torque wrench. And what it does is it's attached to my socket that I'm going to be using to put my drain bolt back into into the Jeep. And torque wrenches make sure that you tighten up a bolt to a specific tightness called foot-pounds. And the Jeep Wrangler says it needs 20 foot-pounds on the pan drain bolt. So I've set this, be hard to see, but I've set it to be 20 foot-pounds. And I'm going to use it to tighten up that bolt. You'll hear it click when I reach the setting that it's supposed to be. It'll click, and that tells me to stop tightening it up. And then what's important is when I'm done using this torque wrench, this is not a digital torque wrench, it's a manual one. When I'm done with it, I'm going to release the torque off of it and wind this down, turn it down so it's back to 0. I don't want to store this in my tool chest with a foot-pound marking on it. Okay, we're climbing back underneath the Jeep. Now you're going to see that my drain pan, hope you can see that, it's still kind of dripping every once in a while. There it goes. Well, yep, it's going to do that, and that's okay. We'll put the bolt back in, my drain bolt, we'll put that in. The dripping will actually stop, and we will clean up any loose drips. So that's in finger tight. Then I'm going to take my torque wrench, set to 20 foot-pounds. Put it on. Tough to do one-handed. Let's get another bite on it. And you can hear that clicking. And when that clicks, it tells me I've reached 20 foot-pounds. So that's it. That's as tight as I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna grab my paper towel, clean up any of that excess dripping oil, and then I'm gonna get this pan, pull it out, and we're ready to put in the fresh oil. Okay, remember earlier I pointed this out? This is where we're going to fill the oil. So I'm just going to kind of clean up around that oil filler cap real quick, just to make sure that there's no grime that might fall into it. I'll go ahead and remove that cap and set it aside. So again, here's my oil filler location, and I'm just making sure I wipe anything away from that area. I don't want anything, there's dirt and grime that kind of picks up from time to time, and I don't want it falling in there. That's what it looks like. Okay, so I use a funnel, drop my funnel in, and my Jeep takes 6 quarts of oil to be full. Now this Valvoline is 5 quarts. Again, it's full synthetic, and I always do a double check. Make sure 5W20. Yep, that's what I need. Again, I can look at that. That's going to tell me 5W20. Always take your time and double check. High mileage, full synthetic. So that's what I need. Okay, so the cap comes off. I bring it on around. See if we can pour it on in. There you go. So I'm going to pour this entire bottle, and that'll be 5 quarts. And then we'll add another quart from another open container. There it goes. Now look at how beautiful that brand new oil is. It's that beautiful kind of gold color. Drink it up, baby. Drink it up, Jeep. Okay. Took that one. Now in this container, it's got a measurement on the back of it, and it's telling me that there's another quart. So 5 from one from this one. Drink it up, Jeep. Drink it. All right. So there's my 6 quarts. So with a new oil filter, that's what I have to put in, and it's done. In a second, we're going to start it up and see what happens. Okay, so I put my cap back on, nice and tight. Good. All right. Put my containers away. Give a quick look underneath. Make sure nothing's leaking. That all looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to start it up, let it run, and see how the engine oil level looks. Okay, so we're going to come on in, start it up. Okay.
I'll tell you what that is later, Mike, okay?
Oil pressure looks good. So no warning lights telling me low oil pressure. So that all looks good. Oh, refocus. We'll take a look outside. Now remember, guys, real important. I've got my garage doors, both garage doors open while I'm doing this. I'm not doing this with the garage closed up. That'd be pretty dangerous. Looking underneath, no oil. That looks good. Reach in and shut it off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check the engine oil level. So I grab this dipstick, and I pull it out. It goes into that tube right in the center of the screen. So I'm going to pull it out, and the first thing I'm going to do is clean it, and then I'm going to stick it back in. And then once it's back in and it's all clean, I'm going to push it all the way down and then pull it out again, and I'm going to read it. So let me do that, and I'll start the video again. Okay, so you can see right there it says safe. So I want to be right in the middle of that. I've already cleaned off the dipstick. I want to put it back in and check it, but that's where I should be. So of course the last step is always cleaning up. So I did some cleaning up. I put the used motor oil back into the jug so they can be taken back and those get recycled. You never want to pour used motor oil either down the drain or in the storm drain or even out in the grass. You just don't want to do it. Take it back to the place where you bought it or to a recycling center and they will take it for you. So we do a final check over, make sure everything's back together, ready to put the hood down. Everything looks good. Hood goes down. Hood latches. Cleaned up. Hands are clean. Workshop is clean. The area is clean. Any oil drops that we made, we clean those up as well. And cleaning up your mess is probably the most important thing. Clean up. So I've enjoyed showing you guys a little bit of something about working on your cars by doing this oil change ourselves. Let's see, we spent about $11 or $10 on an oil filter. We spent about $30 on the 6 quarts of motor oil. But we probably saved ourselves. It probably would have cost every bit of 110 or so at an oil change place, maybe even 125 at an oil change place for them to do it. And it gives you the satisfaction of knowing that you did it yourself. So great job. Give yourselves a hand and don't be afraid to tackle these things. Okay. Poppy's out. That's his words for the day. No hiking today. But so my words are turn off the TV, get out in front of the computer, and go work on your car or take a hike. See you guys.